They love the heck out of me come tax time, I'm telling you.
They love the hell out of houses.
Hi, sir, how are you? Good.
They love the heck out of me.
Hi, sir, how are you?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Like a delay.
Campers, where would you like me? Right here, over the other side, it takes me to. Zoom stuff.
And you were starting.
I sent you an email. As soon as I go to YouTube, it takes me a bunch of, you emailed me something today. I sent it back. I got it. And then we don't see any, couldn't get the link.
I couldn't get out of there.
Maybe that was it. Maybe it'll send itself later, but I got it denied. This is the budget quote. I didn't want you to think I didn't margin.
I should be honest.
Oh, yeah, I just want to get the ID number off.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Probably if you send it to me now, I can get it.
Well, it's on my office computer.
Okay.
Basically, it was the 141 thing that we did update that. and
Okay.
For planning, we need to review it. And
Okay.
what you guys want to do with it.
Okie dokie, thank you.
All right. So we're gonna do We just don't know who's on.
About the Zoom stuff. Yeah.
It should be checked, shouldn't it?
Is it the same thing as it did last one? This is YouTube. Yeah. And none of those other tabs show the Zoom meet. We can't see who's on. And we have the echo. Oh,
It's replayed Thursday.
thank you. Because I was in the browser, not. Yeah. Got it. All right, thank you.
Not yet.
Go to the other side.
They're fine. Kevin, did I take the seat?
I don't have a house today.
What's that?
Everybody's here.
I think you should tonight. Oh, yeah, this is, yeah, we'll do Saturday again this week. Cool, it's gonna be cool that night, but. That's glad you're there. You know, everybody's got a first day, it's the first time they gotta get there, you know. Tracy didn't see it. You see, I'm sure I was quite awful.
It's not me, I don't know who that is.
I was in real estate. Stern. That's funny. It just hit 6% today. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna see that again for the end of the year. Probably. I thought that was, you're gonna see 13%. When I was in law school, that's what I worked for law. All right, can we stand and say, please, the flag is behind us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome everybody to our meeting. Our first order of business is the May 19th minutes. Any corrections?
I move that we accept the May 19th minutes. As written.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Wait a second. You say yes? Yes or no? Yeah, I have to make sure.
Parliamentary procedure would be that they would ask for
You have to.
those against.
Sure.
Yeah.
You need to change it.
Did you vote?
Did you vote?
But
I did not vote in that.
Okay.
are you abstaining?
Abstain?
Yeah, I was staying, because I was on, but I did
No,
not
and
vote.
this is the May.
This is the
minute-
regular
or
meeting.
regular meeting that you were here for.
We just needed to, we need to change things up. So the regular May.
The regular May
meeting.
So I just need that. Sorry, I haven't had a chance to go through this yet. And, yeah,
But yeah, that's the, so there's gonna, you're
We're gonna
looking
look
at the May 31st one.
the May 31st.
So we're talking about the May 19th first.
Okay, yeah, May 19th, yes, I.
So you're, okay,
All right,
so.
so you're an aye,
Everybody,
Aye.
Lori's an aye, Bill's an aye.
I said, I was at the
Yep.
meeting, so.
Thank you. All right, next is the May 31st end of year meeting minutes. It's just one page long.
I'd like to make a correction on that. And it's just the wording. When we had the vote and it failed anyways, but the resolution did not pass because we didn't have a quorum, or I'm not sure what it was. But anyways, it says trustee Burbridge unknown. You never called for my vote, so I thought it passed because you were the tiebreaker. I never said anything. I was gonna abstain because I didn't think the meeting should have happened.
I was actually there and I'm listed as absent.
As well as I was on too.
yeah,
Yeah,
it just never showed
Right.
that
Because I tried to,
you guys, and you
I
didn't,
tried to unmute.
did you
it
try?
wouldn't-
did
It wouldn't let you
say-
It
unmute.
wouldn't let me in, unmute, nothing.
I was waiting.
waiting.
You have the video, I think, you
Yeah.
can see me going.
So is
Right.
that because of what Kevin just did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you have,
Wrong screen.
Swing it around.
Okay.
okay, all right, so,
So as far as I knew, only three people were
Yeah, I think
here
I texted
today.
you that what was the dial in and then I dialed in, so
Yeah, only 3 people were here to vote. Lori didn't vote. Bill and I voted in the affirmative, so that's why it failed.
So are we redoing that and are we adjusting the absent on here or,
sure, I mean,
because
yeah.
Bud was on there too, I saw his name on there, it seems on there.
All right, so I'm going to just do that you guys were on Zoom.
And you might make a note that says unable to communicate.
There was a mistake with the
That's perfectly legal.
online
Technical difficulties. There you go.
Technical difficulties.
You should have been able to talk, even if we couldn't
I was
see you.
muting and unmuting and
Yeah.
talking and
It
doing
wouldn't do nothing.
Nothing.
waving.
I
Thinking someone might have seen me.
Okay, so I'm making that change.
just like, I did not vote. Because I
So it's
didn't.
kind of a do-over, it sounds
Yeah.
like, right? Are we addressing that this evening?
It's on
Or
general
item?
business.
Yeah.
All right, so with those 2 changes, are we all set? Ready to make a motion or no?
Yep. So moved.
For a second?
I'll second.
Bud?
Are we voting on the changes?
No, we're voting on the minutes as
Oh,
changed. As
oh, the
of
minutes has changed, yes.
Lori? No?
Yes, all right.
In terms of my report, the Ready Project, the Beach Dune won the Best Beach Restoration of 2022 award by the American Shore and Beach Preservation Association. Lori, we worked with Tom, put the application in and did an excellent job. The neat thing about this award is it has always gone to a coastal beach community. We're the first Great Lakes community to ever get it. And I guess there's some award presentation next March that we'll learn more about later. There's supposed to be a national press release, but I have not seen it yet, so.
We'll be including Maxine and Lori Hayden and anybody of the volunteers that help plan all that at that
Yeah.
event.
If it's local, yes.
Okay.
I think it's in Washington DC, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So
we're
we'll
right
prob-
up there with the beach in Hawaii.
We'll
from my
we'll probably
understanding.
send Tom or someone like that to accept the award.
Who, when you say Tom?
Tom Hart.
Tom Hart, the guy that,
Signed it.
Oh,
he was the leader really of the project.
okay.
Stormwater, we had a meeting with the contractor last Tuesday. There was some more discussion. This week, the engineer met with the paving subcontractor, the contractor. On Tuesday of this week, Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, they've outlined specifically all the asphalt changes. We've asked for a schedule for when all the punch list items are going to be addressed. It appears that the asphalt work is going to get done in the next week or two, probably before the 4th of July, but we'll see. That's what they're saying today. We still have all the retainage money, and we're holding on to that as tight as we can. Lake Stones, the project is essentially complete. There are a couple outstanding inspections between the contractor and the engineer that need to be signed off. And I know they're working on those. And then White Birch, it remains the same. We'll bid it out in August and hope to have construction in November. Water levels, we're definitely going down slowly. Only about 4 inches away from the long-term average. Today we were at 246.56. We're supposed to go down another 4 inches by July 10th. Not necessarily good news as far as I'm concerned. Jane Corwin, the IJC chairperson, has resigned and is being replaced by Gerald Aker, who's a personal injury attorney out of Michigan. Obviously, it's a political appointment, as was Jane. But we will definitely reach out and try to establish a relationship with him. The other two U.S. commissioners, to the best of our knowledge, have not resigned, and there's nobody's lined up to replace them yet. Several local organizations are trying to suggest that Bernie Gigas would be a great commissioner on the IJC. And he does have a lot of respect from a lot of their committees, so we'll see what happens. And he would be willing to do that. Street lights, RG&E still has not connected all the new lights to power, although they did move some of our lights to the new poles. We've not yet signed the maintenance agreement with NIPA, and we won't until we get in writing from them an agreement that they will refasten the many tops that have blown off. I maintain our shoddy workmanship on the part of the installation. They don't necessarily agree with that. And we've also been made aware of what I call a mystery light on Lake Stones. It's not on our inventory. It's not even on this public road. RG&E is telling everybody that we own it. There's no plaque that we own it. There's no replacement light, so we don't own it. So we have to get to the bottom of that and get it fixed and get it working.
How long do we think that'll take,
I
Dave?
have no idea.
Is there anything we can do solar wise to help light that up for the safety of the people that go down that road?
I don't know. And some of them could leave their outside lights on. I don't know. I haven't looked to see how many of them have.
Because RG&E just all of a sudden shut it off, correct?
No, we don't really know what happened. There is power going to the light.
Oh,
So
really?
probably the sensor has become faulty. And I suspect it's on somebody's utility bill. I mean, our Ertl has one, and he pays for it every month on his utility bill.
Oh,
So I suspect that's on somebody's utility bill, because as a private citizen, you can request one on your property, and they will put it up and they will add it to your electric bill, and they will maintain it. RG&E just has an automatic answer The village owns.
Yeah, we gave it to the village.
So we gotta get to somebody that will actually
Come on.
find out, and how did it get there? Because then we'll know where to go. And if we have to put it on our inventory, we can do that, maybe. Problem with that, it's not on a public road, and they don't want to make that a public road. So,
But the road going in straight is a public road. right?
yes, and
So-
that light works, and that light does belong to the village. The light going to the left does not work, and it's not our road. And they don't want that to be our road.
That light, the light up has been changed to the LED light though, right? The first one
The first one, yes.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sill Shore Road and that drainage issue, basically, the people that own that one house have said emphatically, no way are we ever gonna give you an easement. That may or may not change with time, but I have talked to Thomas about a pump station alternative and how much that might cost, so he's trying to put that together. We've missed the window this year, so there's no grant. The other way to pay for it, if we decided to go forward, would be a drainage district, which would impact everybody that owns a house in the Heights. And it would be a separate line on everybody's tax bill in the drainage district to pay for that and its maintenance over time. So that would be a lengthy process, not even a process that would definitely go through. So this problem is going to exist for a while. The neighbors are aware, and there are things they can do as neighbors, and we'll see what happens. The New York Main Street project, the bids for the outdoor dining structures are out, and they're all due back on June 30th at 3 o'clock. Willow Park, the camera is up, installed and operational. We're still trying to get Spectrum to get us web so we can view it from more places than just in the information booth. Nicole has been hired again as the cleaner, and she's cleaning the restrooms every day each week except Tuesday and Thursday. In your boxes over there was the Nikon update, just on some bills that both houses of New York State legislature passed, as well as many bills that aren't passed by both houses. All the ones that are passed by both houses are on the governor's desk. The one that, assuming she signs, that we may want to consider later in the year is the ability to reduce the village speed limit to 25 miles an hour. I know that's come up in the past, but it appears that now it could be legal. We were notified by T-Mobile that the lease on the Heights cell tower will end on September 1st. And they're moving a new antenna to the malt houses and upgrading their tower there to provide the same service. This is really a result of T-Mobile and Sprint coming together. Sprint's been on the malt house forever. T-Mobile's been up on, or do I have it backwards?
Yeah, backwards. Where Sprint was up there, T-Mobile over here. Yeah.
So stuff on that water tower up on the Heights will come down. That is their responsibility. It'll come down after September 1st. The work you see going along on 14 and on top of the malt house is all upgrading those antennas. Our new employee was let go because he refused to take a drug test. And we'll talk more about this in executive session, but one of our existing employees has been shadowing Jeff in wastewater and seems to really be liking that. So that might work out really well. I also met with Scott and Phil Eigner earlier this week on other topics. Brian Pincelli from Wayne County Planning was there, and we were talking about Harriman Park and the fact that boat launch is in need of a lot of work. And he suggested that we apply together for a planning grant through a program that I'm sure Sharon knows about, but I will talk to her about how feasible this whole idea might be. I did read through it today, and maybe it'll work or maybe it won't. But I told Scott we'd be very willing to help him try to improve that, but he's not giving it to us until it's improved.
Sounds like
To which Phil Eigner laughed.
And Phil Eigner is
He's the county chairperson,
county chair.
and he's Huron's supervisor.
Yeah.
He's a fabulous guy. And just a reminder to everybody, Saturday at 12:30 is a celebration of life.
Oh, Sunday,
Yep.
Sunday.
Sunday at 12:30 is a celebration of life for Tom Lightfoot, who was our village historian. In terms of wastewater, they repaired a main over on 14 where our genie put the new pole on top of the main. BDP, who's our press manufacturer, put in a larger water line to make priming of the screw press easier. Jeff helped water department with the main breakdown by Didstop, which was quite a fiasco. He's getting quotes for a pipe replacement at Margaret Road Pump Station, where he found a bunch of problems. Sewer cleaner is tuned up and repaired, and he should be using it next week down on Greg Street, because we learned several years ago that if you don't clean that main before the 4th of July, you might get called out at night to fix a plug. So Bill?
A couple of things, both pertaining to our parking officer and our parking downtown. I've driven by a couple of times down just past Abe's, and the boys have been washing their motorcycles on the sidewalk, and people have got to go out into the street to get around them that are walking on the sidewalks. They're parking boat trailers half on the sidewalk, that kind of thing. So we get together with Art and get things moving here, find out exactly what we have to do, and then go from there, because it's becoming more of an extreme necessity. I guess that's it right now.
All right, Jennifer?
Actually, not submit a report. I continue to work on the splash now that it's a go with Dresden to secure all of the things that we need for the day. And also working on the information for the scuttlebutt with lost credit. So at this point, continue to work on that information.
But, okay. The highway here. Highway's been very busy last 2 weeks from brush pile. Been ground down, signs removed. The new dump area is on Featherly Drive next to the wood chip piles. Last brush collection was June 6th. Next collection beginning on June 27th. This will be the last pickup before the 4th. Conduit for the gazebo is installed, waiting for the wiring to be completed. Central Ave drainage project that is now completed. And we're going to get parts of the roadsides all mowed with the 4th of July Fast project. Cory?
I've been working this week with the CEC, and that's all coming to fruition. And Dave in the office have been really good with that for the EV stations. That's looking favorable at this point. We'll see what happens as we go down the line. well, they opened up the grant money yesterday. I did attend that. It was put on by Empire. I can't remember who it was put on by, but I attended it, and I've got lots of ideas for some other things. It was well worth it, and I'm sure that Sharon's probably right on top of all of that.
I was on the same side.
I thought you were. I saw Sharon there, and it was a good seminar.
Yeah, it was put on by the Finger Lakes Regional
Thank
Economic
you.
Development Council.
Yeah, thank you. The visitor center opened and has been relatively busy. Thank you, Alice and gang. Alice has crew cleaned the place and everything, so that saved us some money on the budget. And she's been getting lots of good things to put in there. I've been checking on the bathrooms. They've been clean since I visited the first time, and everything looked good. They were clean the first time, but they were out of toilet paper, and I took care of that. I'm talking to different folks about a steering committee for the playground to see what we need to do to either improve it, change it, whatever that group decides to do, and I'll put forth some names tonight or at the next meeting. I'd like to thank Dave for putting forth the CPA this evening. He heard my request, and I think the contract is very favorable, and that was good work. Planning board, I attended the meeting last Monday. The meeting was a really good success, I thought. They reached a lot of good agreements that worked out well. Tim Jones was recognized for his years of service, and I thought that was wonderful.
Thank you, Kevin.
For last month, I had 19 new building permits issued. You guys should have a full packet, which is the whole year. We had a total of 105 building permits issued and $16,671.70 in fees generated for the year. That's a little down from the average. Averages are around 120 that we've been at, so it's a few less than average, but still
Leave
very
it to
good.
70 cents.
70 cents. So like when I do the square footage calculator on a new house,
Oh, okay.
it probably got rounded. I can round to the nearest dollar, or if it's docked, there's something in there.
I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
All right, public comments? Anybody in the room? Williamson.
Thank you. I wanted to come tonight just to allow some of us who've been members of this community since the 1950s and 60s, but having been a homeowner since 1975, I've seen a number of positive changes throughout the years in this community. I can also say that I have seen some mayors who were of a lesser quality than the one that currently serves as our current mayor, and I do not want to make a miss that there were other great mayors who previously have helped this community move forward. I voted here for 32 years. And until I made Florida my permanent residence, and this is summer residence, we have made tremendous progress, but I'm concerned that, and this is purely an observation, and unfortunately, when you attend these meetings by video, you don't get the same feelings as being here in front of all of you this evening. And I'm finding it is a situation where some of these questions that have been brought forward recently have caused within the village and within the department stress to members of our staff. And all of you are totally aware that the shortage of qualified people. And I'm going to specifically speak of Tracy, who has served this community for 17 years, and the other members that sit here tonight and others. I can never tell you where I don't, and I served as a trustee of the community of Palmyra for a number of years before moving to Canandaigua, but things have gone well historically in my observations here in the community. And I'm concerned that sometimes that we have new members of this board, and I'm speaking directly to those who recently joined, and not in a negative way, but in a positive way. You are asking questions which are all important to learn how this village operates. And if you don't ask questions, you don't learn that business. But I think it's somehow in the manner in which some of the questions have been asked and how staff has been, I'm not going to say mistreated, but I will also say tonight that our society has changed in the last 40 years. And the way we talk to people can result in situations that, as the management of this village, could be a negative to this community in more than one way. One is by the loss of qualified people who serve. Secondly, and more concerning to me as a person who has served as president of publicly traded companies as well as privately held companies, that it reaches to a point of harassment or the means by which we force people to leave their positions. And again, this is watching through a camera over the course of this last winter, that in some instances, I feel that our staff has been possibly pressured in ways that they should not be pressured. And the last thing we want to do is lose qualified, trained individuals. And again, Bill has been here for a number of years and has seen situations where we've had
good administrations and poor administrations, and I think we've been recognized as a community on a national basis now with the latest of how this community has moved forward. I think tonight I want to say it's positive to be here this evening and to see how this meeting is being conducted and run, but I also find it difficult when we have a meeting that is advertised and published that we don't have all of the trustees here. I mean, I traveled internationally, but I always made a point that if we had a staff meeting to be there and be present. And I realize that you have your own businesses and obligations, but I think as a public servant to our community, I think it's an obligation that you need to be present and listen, not through that camera, because there's some things that are lost. And I think one of the things I'm going to suggest tonight is that we do need a microphone for people who do not and are not sitting here tonight. I don't normally speak in a soft voice, but tonight I'm going to project that for those people that are not sitting here in the audience. So I would suggest that we look at the potential of having a microphone attached so that people that are not here have an opportunity to listen clearly to what's being taken place. I think the most difficult part for me to bring forward tonight is, I don't want to use the word harassment, but I'll use the word harassment. I think we have employees who have more experience than I do. I serve in the community of Palmyra, as I mentioned. The village clerk served for 30 years. She knew more about the conduct and the operation of the business. Ironically, she basically ran the business of the village, and the trustees and the mayor listened to her with powers that she had and with the knowledge that she had of our community. In closing, I'd like to make a statement that we, as a village, have been looking to improve our quality of this community. And when we have bickering and disagreement, we don't accomplish much. And I've also lived in the last 22 years in the Florida Keys. It was a group we called the Gang of Three. And unfortunately, one of them went to prison, much higher degree, the county attorney. But I also share with you that two of the other parties were dismissed as serving because of allegations that became ultimately true statements that they had been involved in things that were not done ethically and correctly in bid processing on a much larger scale than what we're talking about here in our community. But I think no matter what the size of government is, we have a small village, and the people that can serve here in this community as trustees and as representatives is a very small pool. So we need to treat each other with respect. And no matter what we say and how we do it, and I'm only saying it from my heart because my wife and I have lived here since 1975. And we've seen a tremendous change in the community, and we've given to this community as if it's our home. And I want to make sure that we don't lose that. And I want us to be all treated with respect. So I hope I'm not offending anyone. I'm hoping that we all can come away from this as a means of all of us having a better work environment and also having a relationship that we can ask one another questions. And if we have questions, I suggest, whether it be for staff, that it be done in a manner which there's a written agenda. If you want to meet with whoever it is in the departments, that first of all, it's approved by the mayor and it's reviewed and there's a set time so that we're not interrupting the business of the government on a daily basis, but they have jobs that we have reporting requirements that they have to make as well. And again, I appreciate my opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Any other people in the room desire to speak? Anybody on Zoom desire to speak? Please unmute yourself. All right, thank you. We will close public comment. Our first order of old business is to review and approve the budget transfers that did not pass at our May 31st meeting. These aren't creating new money, simply moving money from one account to another so that when we submit the final report to the state, it looks like we're produced. if anybody has any questions, we can try to get those answered.
So you included in my mailbox the letter from the contractor that did the ready projects, the outstanding items for the punch list. And is the contingency line item that you have down here,
That's
the money
that.
that's in reference to anything that we need to work on as a result of that project? Or just want to understand what this 485,000.
It's the contingent portion of the budget for that project that we're putting into stormwater. So that when we need to spend it, probably later this year, it's there.
So is
No,
it all?
I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
It's already spent.
Yeah.
It's already spent.
So you're
That's
moving
the-
something that's already
So
spent.
the over,
All of this money's already spent.
it's the,
That's what I understand.
so that's the overage, it's the over, under. The,
The quantity overruns
right,
and underruns.
And we're not done now.
We're not done, but we've held back about $350,000. That's still in that budget to pay.
That's not,
That's not reflected here because it's not been spent.
okay. But where's that sitting now that we're closing this contingency?
that's still, it's still in the budget, it's still a line item on the budget, in the budget. The report that you, the one that I sent to you, the financials, it shows up in there. It's
This one?
it's 18, no, the one that I emailed like a week ago.
Okay.
It's the retainage. You'll see
Line
it.
item
It's
that
a-
says retained.
Yes, yeah.
Because I'm just, I
So
would
that's-
be concerned that we were closing it out and this
Two
wasn't.
two totally different things.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, all the money here has already been spent.
so we're just,
We're putting it in the right account where we actually spent it as opposed to where we budgeted.
nothing shifted, nothing moved, so exactly where, I'm just,
There's no new money.
thank you.
This is, the way I understood it, the last one was, this would have been all bills that we've already approved and signed off on. It has our signatures.
Thank you.
So is there a motion to make these transfers?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, Bud, you in favor?
Yep.
Lori, you in favor?
Yep.
Bill?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank Tracy for putting all the AICs in there and the information for how this was spent. Before, we just had numbers, and this was very helpful, so I thank you very much. And the other reason that I didn't approve it the last time was because I was concerned with the legality of the meeting, because I didn't think it was properly notified.
Visitor center hours.
I have that. We approved $4,000 already, right? And the figure I had was 6267.75. So if we approve $2,000, that still would leave us $267.75 short. However, I had 5 hours of cleaning on there, and I believe that was at $35 an hour. So if we deduct that, we'll be close to the figure.
Do you want, so what would you? what's the
Well, I
number?
would say 2267.75, just so we have, I know.
It's pretty specific.
So
I was gonna say, can we round?
All right,
68.
I move that we approve $2,300 more.
So you're amending this 2,000 to 2,300?
Yes. And recognize that SOTUS did give us $1,500 towards that fee and has for many years.
So you're making a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, okay. Bud, you in favor?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Audit discussion. Tracy and I met with both Mengel Metzger Bar and Company and Bonadio. And we kind of got the same message from both. We really don't need an audit. An audit would probably cost well over $20,000, even though that's not what we've been paying. But these are both, we've been using, I'll call them mom and pop firms, and they're all gone. They're all owned by these guys and others, or at least the ones we can find, although I think Bonadio was aware of a few, but he wouldn't disclose. The guy from Mengel Metzger and Bar, Tom Unger, came here. We had a wonderful conversation with him. We talked about all kinds of different scenarios. He reached out and validated with rural development that we don't need an audit to satisfy them. I did reach out to New York State and confirm that we don't need an audit for Ready. All we need to do is hand in the AED that Tracy prepares every year. So we liked Mengel Metzger and Bar a lot better. They actually gave us a proposal. Bonadio did not.
I was gonna say, I don't see it here.
No, they didn't. They never gave us a proposal.
The email, they sent us an email
Yeah.
basically saying it would be $20,000 to $25,000. And
Well, we
That
had
was-
one that I had presented when I was doing it, that was less than that. And they were the firm that first told me that we didn't need an audit. So that's what I liked about them, but then when I went back and I talked to Metzger Bar, because they were my original first. They're well-known, they're from Ray Wager, they're a good firm. And they oversee the policies, procedures, they have trainings that you can go through, there were all sorts of things that they did. So that's what I said, when I said, thank you for hearing me, that's what I was looking for.
And they acknowledge that, you know, the checks and balances and policies and procedures in large municipalities are different than small municipalities. They seem to understand, you know, we don't have 6 people that can check all kinds of things. So I think this will be a great review of our policies and procedures, and I'm sure result in some changes, which is fine.
Did we get 3 bids just to be a steady?
We had 5.
We had 5, okay.
We had several others that, we had one from Ally for an audit like we had before that we didn't want. We had a $15,000 one from Bonadio that when we talked to them, they said, well, it's a lot more than that now. It's 20 to whatever numbers you said. So Mengel Metzger and Bar is looking for less than $6,000.
So they're the low cost bid out of the.
Yes.
Yes.
And that would give us extra money if we need training or something to help us with policy and procedures and that sort of things to go on. They, just because they don't type up an audit doesn't mean they don't go through everything and make sure the checks and balances are there.
The list looks really long that they're performing, so. I mean, it's pretty comprehensive.
They were great to talk to when they wanted to be on site. He offered to come tonight and then found out his son's senior award banquet was tonight. So we agreed with him that that was more important. But if we want to talk to him, he will come at a later time. If we want to approve this, then I can sign this statement of work and something will get scheduled for over the summer.
I make a motion, we approve it.
I second it.
That's where- Louis.
Louis, do it? Is that what he said?
All right, Bud, you in favor? Lori,
Yes,
Bill,
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Very good, thank you. We will take care of that tomorrow.
just for the record, Bonadio's estimate was 7,000 to 8,000,
So still higher.
but it was still higher.
Yeah, for that kind of.
Yeah, for that review.
All right, on to new business. One of the grants that we're applying for is a community development block grant. And the grant is so that we can hire a consultant to analyze our water distribution system and tell us what improvements we need to plan for.
Yeah, can I just call you back on, did we do the June 16th, 2022 budget transfer?
That was the $2,300.
Oh, okay, all right.
They were
thank
2
you.
items that we merged together as
Oh,
one thing.
okay, gotcha, thank you.
And part of the reason why I believe this is, we applied for this last year too, by the way. Our water loss is high. It should be 15% in that range, and it's above 25%. With Nate, it's a lot easier now to know what it is because he actually reads all the meters every quarter. And we're tracking it. He has found some leaks that he has repaired. Our water meters are supposed to be replaced every 10 years. Probably very few have been. We only replace them when they stop working, and it seems to take us quarters to do that. So, and there's also much more efficient meter reading technology available today and much more accurate water meters available today. So in order to get grants to implement some of that stuff or repair some of that stuff, we need to get a report by a consultant that tells us what we need to do, much like we did for wastewater almost 10 years ago now. I think it was 8 years ago that report was published. There's also some new lead standards that have recently come out at the federal level that may or may not impact us. I have no idea, and Nate's trying to figure it out. So we need to schedule a hearing in order to apply for the grant to pay for that consultant. Sharon may want to add whatever I messed up.
Yeah, that's a it's the community development block grant program requires that you have a public hearing to discuss the community's development needs. And there's a very specific way to do all of this stuff. I'll have a lot more to say at the public hearing and to comply with their requirements for citizen participation prior to applying for the grant. But it's a non-negotiable thing. We have to have this public hearing or we can't put these grants in, or this particular program, you can't put the grant in. So yeah, we'll talk about the engineering feasibility study for the water system and what that can do for you as a community next month, and other community development needs, and we'll apply for money.
Is it okay to ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Would you be, yesterday you heard the salt barn thing just as I did, I'm sure that money, and I think you had a grant all written for that.
Yeah, so I was not optimistic that we would get the money for the salt barn, because their top priority for that money is to give it to communities that don't have structures right now, excuse me, that are storing salt outside,
Okay.
you know, with tarps covering it and stuff. And there's you might not realize that there are a lot of communities in New York State, our size, small rural communities, who don't have salt barns. And DEC's priority is to get those piles covered. We have a salt barn. I did my level best to tell them that it was awful.
It is.
I mean, really, and
It's got a huge
grant. I did everything I could possibly do. But there are 4 categories of impact under the DEC grant, and we were the lowest impact because we have a structure, even though the walls are bowing out, and there's holes in the ceiling, there's a hole in the back, and there's a wetland nearby. And I played all that stuff up, and with the idea that I knew we were over in the area of the grid that was probably the smallest impact, and we wouldn't score very well. And I was right.
Is it possible to resubmit it without a lot of effort, or is it?
I can clone it and do it again,
Yeah.
but it's, I mean, if you want me to do that, I'll do it, but I think it's pointless because you're still over in the area where you're not going to score any impact points, because all the communities that are applying for this money are ones that have outdoor stored salt piles, and that's what DEC is going to fund first, over and over again.
Okay.
I'm happy to make a phone call to the DEC rep to see if it would be worth our time to resubmit it.
I think that's.
Yeah, I'll
Before
do
you
it.
spend a lot of time on it, but
Yeah, I mean, I'll do that, and if I think that if she gives me a positive answer, then I'll phone it and update it and put it in.
Okay,
All right, so I'll let you know.
okay.
Do you
I'll be
have
glad
any
to help.
idea how many communities don't have covered salt stores? Like, is it
I,
100, is it 50, is it?
well, no, I don't keep those statistics.
I'm just curious.
DEC probably knows. But yeah, and lots of times they also got inadequately sized salt barns, so they're still storing outside because they might have salt barn, but you know, they got big piles outside because their barns are old.
Much like Williamson does.
Yeah, there you go, yeah, so our salt shed again, is not inadequately sized. We don't have any outdoor storage. So when I wrote the grant, I'm like, well, water comes into the roof and on the sides and it leaches out the front and it goes down into the wetland and all of that stuff.
But the building doesn't look safe. I mean, we've got,
It's been looked at by the engineer, and it's ugly, but it's not gonna fall down.
Okay, yeah, and somebody.
I'm telling you, if it fell down, then we got something to talk about.
Yes.
I know, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but if it fell down, we'd have a legitimately competitive grant application.
Many years ago, you could have mentioned that someplace in the village of Sodas Point, and a couple of weeks later, it would have been laying in the grass. So, those days are gone, okay? I just want everybody to be aware of that, but I can remember those days. Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
So it's just structured around water sharing, or is there other, is it just structured around water and meters and?
This is our water distribution system.
Oh, and your water distribution system, it'll be a holistic engineering feasibility study of your water system. And it'll get you listed on the intended use plan, which is the plan, the state plan you have to be on in order to qualify for grant and loan programs. And so most communities can't afford to do these $50,000 studies. So, the Community Development Block Grant Program and DEC both have planning grant studies for communities to do this. I think that one of the reasons we didn't get the grant last year is that they typically get between 40 and 45 applications, and they only fund 9. So we went through a debrief with the state folks. We had a 45-minute phone call with them, and there really wasn't anything wrong with our grant. I mean, they were really kind of head stretched to find things that were wrong with it. They just we'll get in the hopper.
So
I'm a lot more optimistic about it this year than I was last year, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because I know time is of the essence.
Oh, it's July 29th. I've already cloned last year's, and I'm updating it now.
Perfect.
Yeah, and for a lot of the grants to fix infrastructure needs to be broken, or we need to be cited by the DEC, DOT, or somebody. That's not always the case, but it's often the case. So
So you need somebody to make a motion for that?
we need to establish a time, which I would suggest at 6:15, and then we need somebody to make the motion.
You're talking about 6:15 and July 21st?
Yes. Just before our next board meeting.
So I'm making a motion that we hold this hearing surrounding the Community Development Block Grant application for 2022 on July 21st at 6:15 PM at the Sodas Point Village Hall.
I'll second the motion.
Bud, you in favor? Aye. Lori?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, there's an invoice in your, or an estimate in your packet. The Monheims had sodded their yard before the stormwater project started. And they asked that their yard be sodded again after really the gas company tore it up. Although the stormwater contractor tore some of it up as well. So since neither of them are willing to pay for that, and I hope this would go away over winter, but it didn't. We have an estimate of $1,096.20 for the grass seed that was planted and came up pretty nicely, in my opinion, to be torn up and sod that matches the other side of their yard to be put down. If we approve this, we would pay it out of the retainage because it's part of that project. It's really an expense related.
350,000 is left for you to hold that.
We would use this money, we would use that money to pay this bill if in fact we approve it.
Is this a precedent setter?
It's a great question. That's a good question.
Mayor, if I may,
Please.
to answer Bill's question, it wouldn't be, but my question is, if you're going to use, if you were to adopt the resolution, pay that out of retainage, and has the, let me do it this way, at the end of the contract, if the punch list is done, is 100% of the retainage get paid to the GC?
Technically, yes, probably no.
Because that would then create the issue down the road that they're getting shorter
$1,100. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No,
guess,
you're absolutely right.
But you do have the authority to compromise claims, and there could be potential claims if it's the board's decision to go.
okay, the next question. Was a reasonable,
Alternative. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I guess, the grass that was put in, is it a reasonable alternative? Or are we doing it because the grass is greener on the other side, excuse the expression? You know what I mean? I mean, are we doing, we planted grass seed and it's not the right color, so now we're gonna put
When I
down
drive
turf?
by, I
and-
don't notice the difference.
Fancy
I'll tell you
grass.
that. If you want to table this till the next meeting and I'll go look at it, that's
Yeah.
perfectly fine with me.
That's fine.
I just, yeah, because I think there's other things that, in the long run, if we just go ahead and do it, it's gonna be a line behind them saying, well,
Fix my driveway.
my posies
Fix
were
my-
pink, now I want them yellow, you know? Okay. I make the motion that we table it till the next meeting, so we can get a chance to look at it.
Second,
Bud? Lauren?
aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Jennifer? Playground steering committee.
Basically, what I'm looking for the board to approve is 6, I'm thinking 6 to 8 people that will go down, assess the plan, or assess the current playground, brainstorm some ideas, interview some of the community. I'm looking at 6 people at this point that have said yes. The criteria was whether or not they knew anything about moving dirt and that sort of thing. Knew anything about playgrounds, had young children. And I have 6 names that I sent today. I was waiting, and I have 2 more that may come in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's fine to have a committee, but I think in the end, unless somebody's gonna privately fund it, we're gonna have to have an engineer or some sort of design consultant create the plan.
No, I do too, and there are several of them out there that are willing to do that. We have some local talent out here too. I think we have to survey the community to see if they want to spend the money. I went down and looked at the new playground. I don't think that's a mile away, and it's very nice that the county put in. I never liked this as being a grandmother dealing with the sand and all my grandkids, so I always preferred Willow Park. And Willow Park had ADA compliance with several of the things down there. I'm not seeing that. I actually took a walk around and I don't see that. So we've got some of that going on. But I think the first thing we need to do is see, is it safe? How is it reacting? I know we had a problem with the slide, and I know that Brad was taking care of it and he had actually blocked it off so it wouldn't cause any harm to any children. And so, and we've just put down all the new mulch, which was $3,800, I think it was.
Something like that.
It was a lot of money, but you can't have anything with chemicals or anything because of children, so it becomes more expensive. And you can't do anything. If you see grass sticking out of it, bend over and pull it out because you can't put any chemicals on it to keep the weeds out of it. So, so I was putting forth 6 names of people that had agreed to come, and I'm sorry I didn't have this up. There it is. I contacted NASP, and Mary Lou Shulman came forward. Joshua Jerome, he lives in the big house on the corner of Franklin and over by the Franklin House, in that beautiful house that he just moved here about a year ago, and he had small children. My son, Patrick Burbridge, Greg Orr, who does is a mechanical engineer and civil engineer. Fred, thank you very much. Fred Whiteman, who offered to do this last year, and it's senior, not junior, and Phil Leone. And then basically to see, and then I have 2 others that have been contacted that are going to let me know. So I just thought I'd meet with them, brainstorm it, see what we came up with. Maybe it's do a survey to the people. Maybe it's them telling us what we need. I'm not sure exactly. I want to facilitate it. I don't want to make the decisions. So if those names are okay, I'd like to go ahead and schedule a meeting. And then I was going to ask Sharon if she wanted to be part of that process, and you can talk to me later about it or what you want. And also about possibly getting some businesses involved locally and that sort of thing. So I know we don't have any money, and we're not going to have any.
That's a planning activity.
Yeah.
It's a planning activity.
Just something too, we talk about new playground equipment and that, Free Will Elementary over in Wayne Central was just sold. They have a massive playground out back. It's used. I don't know how old it is, but it's plastic tubes, it's slides, it's the whole 9 yards. A brewery bought the place. I'm thinking they're not gonna have kids playing on a playground.
That's great.
You know what I'm saying?
But which brewery bar?
I don't know which one it was.
Well,
So you don't need
Um,
a
it's a
motion
lead.
for-
No, I was just.
I just wanted people to know what I was trying to do and what the basis were to ask these people. I am trying to get some younger people
Mhm.
involved in the community because they're coming, and the ones that are involved are all active on the playground and stuff. So
And I was just thinking of maybe equipment we might be able to
Yeah.
use some of it, get some of it, maybe not. They may have intentions for it. I will check with the one of the past school board president for Wayne Central.
okay,
I see him now that I'm working out there quite often. I will talk with him and just see what they're gonna do with the property.
and I'll check
Yeah,
with
we'll
Vaughn
talk to
Pembroke. He's pretty in tune with that too.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. So it's a go.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, now it's time to pay the bills.
It's this highway trailer thing.
That got taken off.
Or did you-
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Bills 6-1 through 652 totaling 62,248.83. General 52,788.72. Water 3,479.07. And wastewater 5,981.04.
I make a motion, we pay them.
I'll second it.
Bud? Aye. Lori?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Before we go into executive session, is there any other business?
The only thing I want to talk about for just a second is the ambulance. Our ambulance in the village of Sodas Point, I checked today, but a little information for you too. Our call volume is up almost 30% right now from what it was a year ago. It's because of the surrounding situation that we have going on. If you're out and about during the week, on a weekend, the vehicle's out, you want to take a look at it. The medic, there is at least one medic always with it. Don't hesitate, stop at the station, take a look at it, the rig, see the equipment that we've got. Just get a little bit more familiar with it. We're doing 8 hours a day. We have been for several years. during the week and on weekends with at least one medic there. Things are going very well. Matter of fact, getting a little overwhelming at times, but I just want everybody to know, please stop in and look if you'd like.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Can someone walk up to have a blood pressure check?
certainly. Certainly. Weekdays between 8 and, I just checked that, between 7 and 3 o'clock.
How do they access somebody there?
If there's a car parked outside and the ambulance door is closed, it's there. If you look in the window and there's a blank spot, he'll be back. So,
An apartment there?
There's a side door.
Yes,
On that
yes.
side where you can park. It's not the
Okay.
friendliest parking spot.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
Back there on the street.
So what's the increased usage in that, one entity that actually makes one of your,
Mhm.
replacement lights, and you and I touched on this one.
Well,
correct?
it was
Why are
bought,
you looking for a new?
it was bought in 12, okay? It's got 103,000 miles on it. It's probably ready to start that process take a look at it and come up with something new. You know, we just put some money into it in the front and rear end and that stuff because it is starting to get some age and some time on it. It's a Chevy diesel. It's been a good vehicle to us, but it is time to start looking at it. And it's not anything that's cheap anymore. You know,
What's the time frame to replace that? Like,
Well-
we ordered one today. How long?
2 years.
well, chassis wise, if you wanted to build it right from scratch, chassis wise, you're looking at anywhere from 18 months to 2 years just to get a chassis because of the microchips and all this stuff. That's what they tell us. However, there's one company that sells several different types of ambulances, or several different companies. They're Northeastern EMS or Northeastern something from Syracuse. What they did was, when they saw the pandemic, saw what was coming, they purchased a bunch of what they call demo ambulances. Okay, so they put on those ambulances what they felt were things that people needed. Like, we found some stuff after we did this ambulance that we would like to have to just store things better and that kind of thing. Tom Toys, the sales rep, I've talked to him a couple of times already. And he said the best way to do it would be if we can work our way into a demo. He says 6 months, you know, maybe a year if that's what you want to go to. And it, as well as, keeps cost down because you're not doing a ambulance that's custom, shall we say. So
And the newest model.
that's where we're at. Pardon me?
And the newest model.
Yeah, and the other thing is our ambulance, when we purchased, we spent $155,000 on it. Back then, you could have slapped me in the head because I would have laughed at you. I knew we've never spent anything like that. However, because of what we've done as far as keeping track of it, keeping it mopped, keeping it clean, there's not a paramedic in Wayne County that rides with us, or any other agency that rides with us, that looks at it and says, it's the nicest rig. There's newer rigs that aren't this nice. Because we do. We mop it every time it comes back. We rinse it off. So it's still going to have some value trade-in wise, as long as we don't put it off 2-3 years or whatever.
So is the lift transferable? We spent.
Yes, the power load, yes, that's one of the things I was talking about in the rig. We spent the money, we put a power load in it, which is an automatic loader for the cot. You slide the cot into it, 2 little arms pick it up. You roll the cot inside and out. It's good for up to 700 pounds. I'm not saying I'd want to put somebody on it that's 700 pounds, but that's what it's about. If the medic's over there, when we're out and about, like this Sunday, we're going to be doing the old time baseball game. If you're interested and you want to see it, it's going to be parked downtown. We can do demos with it as far as the lift and that. But the power lift that's in it was $27,000 purchase when we got done, between grants that we got and money from the village and money from the agency and that kind of stuff. But it's transferable. It can go from one rig to another rig. So it's not, that was one of the real pluses when we purchased it, was the fact that it was in fact transferable. So if you're interested, we're around. Thank you. I'm sorry.
I think the game is Saturday, right?
Yes.
18th.
Yep. Saturday.
For those.
Did we not have a trailer or something that?
I just
We-
said
we-
it, I was
We
taking.
removed that from the agenda because Brad and Nate weren't sure that they wanted either one.
Okay,
They were both have had very busy last 2 weeks and felt they hadn't put enough time in it. And we have to wait about a year to get it anyway. So there's not a hurry.
Do a little more research to come to right.
Yeah, I said, buy something you know you want and you're gonna use, so.
my question, is that the trailer that we used to haul the backhoe with and stuff like that, or
No.
is it? Are we
It's probably-
replacing, or is
Are they
it
looking for a
something
work
new?
trailer? Is that what they were talking about?
No, we have a trailer that we haul the new Bobcat on, but it is not rated for the weight of the Bobcat,
No.
What?
which was something that was not checked before. So it's rated for like 10,000 pounds and the Bobcat weighs 15,000 pounds. So whenever they use it, because they have used it with a Bobcat on it, it's very ginger and they surround it with other vehicles in case something happens.
They aren't going very far anyways when they're doing it, are they?
You mean, excuse me, you mean a new excavator is too heavy for the trailer?
Yes.
Okay. Because Bobcats.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not a Bobcat. It's a whatever. it is.
But it
Yeah,
seems like we
Yeah.
had the conversation, were they gonna need a new trailer? Am I right on that, or am I the only one that remembers that?
I'm not sure that we actually asked about the weight of the capacity.
I think everybody would have said, we have a trailer. And it was only after the tires popped and the springs were damaged that the weight of the trailer was checked versus the weight of the machine. So we replaced the tires, we replaced the springs, and we use it sparingly.
Is there any value to that other trailer if we?
Sure, we'll trade it in once we know what we want.
It's got brand new tires and springs.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's in pretty good shape.
So we have a DOT truck that's been around town a lot recently. I guess the trooper lives on Lake Road on the Ontario border. But we're putting a 15,000-pound excavator on a 10,000-pound trailer.
You're
It's
asking.
an overload ticket. I don't know how that works municipality,
Mhm.
municipality, but it's also very dangerous.
Yeah, that's why we want to do it right.
Well, this may be an item that's got to move faster and slower.
What does it cost to rent?
We can't be doing.
We have borrowed the one from Sodas when we can.
Okay.
That's the first try. We've not tried to rent one, to my knowledge. But we also haven't gone to a few places locally that we know sell them, so,
They just,
yeah.
and did those quotes have a trade-in on them?
Pardon?
Was there a trade-in?
No,
Okay.
this came out too soon. It should never have been in your package.
So there'll be a conversation on the trade-in as it relates on
Yeah.
the quotes.
The last thing, I want to thank the public for your backing with EMS and that here in the village in general. I mean, I got to tell you, tonight, as far as I'm concerned, this is the way the meeting should be run. It's very professional tonight. I didn't come in here with my stomach doing backflips. Okay, I just think that it's worked out very well, and I hope we progress just the way that we're going.
I would agree.
Very nice.
I would like to offer up, I do have a backhoe with multiple size buckets full, so that we don't have to put the excavator on a trailer that's not rated for it. If we have an emergency, I am local and I'll let the village use it.
Okay.
If you get jammed up and you got a trailer to service.
All right, thank you. All right, no other new business or other business? All right, we're gonna move into executive session. I will terminate all of our online meetings, and some of the trustees are on any of those.
Mayor, if you're not